Has anyone ever seen a 1,000-ton giant fall into a mud hole and then be bravely rescued? Think about the stress, the planning, and the sheer strength that would be needed to dig the world's biggest excavator out of a muddy hole. What do you think the plans were that helped us make this huge recovery? Stay tuned as we reveal the amazing story of the most stuck excavator I've ever seen and the creativity and teamwork that made this task, which seemed impossible, a huge success. Obstacles are something that are encountered on a regularly occurring basis in the realm of earth-moving equipment and heavy gear. This is a domain that regularly introduces fresh difficulties to be overcome. During the course of my career as a recovery specialist and operator, I have encountered a substantial number of pieces of equipment that have become stranded. I have a great deal of experience in this field. Nevertheless, there is one occurrence that stands out from the rest. The day that I was able to rescue the largest and most stuck excavator that I have ever seen. This is the one that jumps out the most. Despite this, the tale is the one that jumps out the most among the ones available. In situations where one is confronted with challenges that appear to be insurmountable, the story serves as an indication of the power that can be reached via the combination of working together, making use of one's ingenuity, and being resolute. I received a phone call from a furious project manager who was working at a remote construction site as I was on my way to work. The project manager was working at a remote location. I was on my way to work when I received the phone with the alert. I had been anticipating its arrival. In accordance with the norm, the sky stayed cloudy for the entirety of the morning. A large Caterpillar 6090 FS that had become severely lodged in the sludge was one of the items that was found among the wreckage. Across the entire world, this particular excavator held the record for being the largest hydraulic excavator ever constructed. Among all of their assets, the excavator was the piece of machinery that they valued the most and considered to be indispensable. A monster that was built to fulfill the requirements of the mining activities that are the most demanding. The 6090 FS has a working weight of nearly 1,000 metric tons and a bucket capacity of 52 cubic meters. The intent was for it to be a monstrosity. There was no doubt in anyone's mind that rescuing it from its stale state was not going to be an easy endeavor. This realization was universally acknowledged. As soon as we arrived at the area, it was immediately evident to us that the scenario was rather distressing that we were in. With the intention of digging the trench for a new pipeline, an excavator that had been working in a particularly swampy region of the site had attempted to dig the trench. When this was done, it was done with the intention of making the construction of the pipeline easier. The pipeline was supposed to be installed in the trench as it had been planned the whole time. The ground had gotten muddy as a result of the rain that had fallen the night before, which had made the issue even more difficult to understand and deal with. This took place as a direct result of the rain that had been falling. When the Caterpillar finally reached the point where its undercarriage made contact with the ground, it had already fallen to the ground by that point. In this stage, the rails were almost completely covered by a thick and sticky mud that had accumulated below them. This state of affairs had occurred. During this particular instant in time, it appeared as though the machine, which was normally portrayed as a sign of uncontrolled strength, had been entirely defeated. Before beginning any kind of rehabilitation effort, the first thing that has to be done is to conduct a comprehensive analysis of the current state of affairs. Along with evaluating the degree to which the excavator was stuck, it was necessary for us to have an understanding of the condition of the ground that was surrounding the machine. There were other things that needed to be decided upon in addition to this one. A crew of geotechnical engineers was called in to assist with the gathering of information in order to accomplish the aim of evaluating the composition of the soil as well as the stability of the soil. After conducting their investigation, they discovered that the ground had been saturated to a depth of several meters, which rendered the traditional methods of towing ineffective. The results of their investigation did not provide any cause for optimism. It was not possible to retrieve the excavator by applying the standard procedures that are typically used because of its size and weight. This was due to the fact that the excavator was particularly large and heavy. It was necessary for us to devise a strategy that would enable us to protect not just the individuals but also the equipment. This was a requirement that we had to fulfill. After going through a number of iterations of the brainstorming process, we came up with a multi-phase recovery strategy, which may be described in more detail as follows. The ground in the surrounding area needed to be stabilized before any attempt could be made to transfer the excavator. This was the first step in the process. Therefore, this action was taken in order to prevent the excavator from sinking any farther than it had already done. It is vital to dig around the excavator with utmost caution during the excavation process in order to lessen the suction forces that are keeping it in place. This is done in order to allow the excavator to move more freely. The utilization of a combination of hydraulic jacks and cranes is recommended for the purpose of freeing the excavator from the muck. This is because the excavator is stuck in the mud. Within the framework of the leverage and lift strategy, this is the third stage that is being discussed. After the excavator has been lifted, the earth should be strengthened so that it can continue to support the excavator as it goes to land that is more solid. The process has reached its fourth stage at this point. A robust platform was constructed as the first step in the process, and it encompassed the excavator structure that was being created. The gravel and geotextile fabric that we brought in were transported using a significant number of truckloads over the course of the process. The cloth not only stopped the pebbles from falling to the bottom of the container, but it also ensured that the weight was distributed more equally throughout the container. We needed a few days to complete this operation, during which time we patiently arranged the materials in order to create a sturdy platform around the excavator. Additionally, we had to do this in order to accomplish the operation. All of this was successfully completed. A smaller and more maneuverable excavator was then sent to the location in order to gently dig around the tracks of the 6090 FS excavation machine. This was done after the previous step had been completed. The execution of this responsibility was a difficult one. If an excessive amount of effort is applied, it may cause the larger excavator to become damaged or compel it to shift and drop even further. So, the performance of this duty was a challenge. Over the course of time, the tracks were gradually liberated from their muddy confines as the muck was progressively swept away in moderate increments. This process took place over the course of time. We proceeded on to the second phase, which was the most significant procedure, which consisted of elevating the excavator. This phase was completed after the first phase, which consisted of partially freeing the rails and stabilizing the ground, was finished. As a result of the conversation that took place, it was decided that two of the largest mobile cranes that were available at the area would be transported there respectively. The cranes, each of which had the capacity to lift several hundred tons, were positioned on the ground that had been strengthened. Specifically, this was the location where they were situated. Furthermore, in order to meet the requirements for increased lift and stability, hydraulic jacks were installed underneath the digger. It was absolutely necessary to have everything in place, including exact scheduling and communication, in order to effectively coordinate the lift. While the cranes were carefully lifting the weight, the jacks were attempting to compensate for the weight by delivering incremental rises. This was happening while the cranes were lifting the weight. Furthermore, we were able to proceed with our preparations in spite of the strain that was being imposed on the earth. The excavator proceeded to go ahead, and as it did so, it started to emerge from the ground at a rate of 1 inch every inch. After what seemed like an age, the footprints were eventually visible above the surface of the water. Despite the fact that this process was both laborious and nerve-wracking, the technique was eventually successful. In order to ensure that the digger would be able to go forward to firm ground without sinking once more, the earth was fortified during the final step of the process. This action was taken in order to fulfill the requirements that were set forth for the project. As the excavator continued on its route, additional gravel and geotextile fabric were laid down in front of it until it reached its destination. Next, the operator moved the 6090 FS away from the region that posed a potential risk in a cautious manner. This was done after the establishment of a safe path. A moment of satisfaction was shared by each and everyone who was involved when they witnessed the large equipment gradually making its way to a secure location. The most important life lessons to have learned. The operation that I undertook to rescue the largest and most stuck excavator I have ever come across was a massive operation that provided me with a variety of important facts, including the following: collaboration and the use of specialized knowledge. In order for the operation to be successful, it was required for a group of individuals who came from a wide range of different backgrounds to collaborate and exhibit their skills. There were a great number of people who were responsible for playing key roles in the production process. These roles included laborers, crane operators, excavator operators, and geotechnical engineers. We were successful in overcoming the obstacles that we were faced with as a result of the expertise and information that each individual member held. Preparing oneself and making preparations are both aspects of this process. In order to forestall the occurrence of future disasters, careful planning and preparation were among the most important factors that may be regarded effective. As a result of the thorough excavation that we carried out around the rails and the time that we put in stabilizing the ground, we were able to reduce the likelihood that any additional difficulties would arise as a consequence of our efforts. A capability of adjusting to new circumstances. Flexibility and adaptability were both essential qualities that were required to a large degree. As a consequence of the alterations that took place in the circumstances, we were required to make adjustments to the plans and strategy that we had developed. We were able to successfully manage challenges that we had not anticipated because we were able to think rapidly on our feet and make decisions in a short amount of time. There are numerous examples of the impact that modern technology has had. It was of tremendous aid in offering a considerable amount of assistance during the process of recuperation, and the employment of modern technology was of enormous assistance in doing so. We were able to accomplish what would have been difficult to achieve through the use of conventional methods by employing powerful cranes, hydraulic jacks, and deep geotechnical studies. This was made feasible by the employment of these tools. We were able to accomplish something that would have been difficult to accomplish if we had used methods that were more conventional thanks to this. An incident that was both exhilarating and demanding, but ultimately immensely fulfilling, was the recovery of the largest and most stuck excavator that I had ever encountered. It was an opportunity that I had never had before. The experience that I had was the one that matters. The accomplishment was genuinely astounding because it was a demonstration of human creativity and tenacity in the face of problems that appeared to be insurmountable. In other words, it was a demonstration of human strength. I was reminded of the reasons why I enjoy working in this sector when I was standing there, covered in muck yet filled with a sense of satisfaction. I was wearing a mucky coat. To be able to accomplish what I do is something for which I am extremely thankful. These reasons were able to be committed to memory by me because I was standing there at the time. On the other hand, it is not simply a matter of propelling the earth or operating machinery. Rather, it is a matter of seeking answers to obstacles, collaborating with other individuals, and pushing the frontiers of what is technically possible. It is a testimony to the resiliency and capacity of both the machine itself and the persons who were responsible for its recovery that the Caterpillar 6090 FS was able to be placed back into action after everything that had been said and done had been completed. The story of triumph over adversity and a reminder of the beautiful things we are capable of accomplishing when we work will be permanently seared in my memory as a highlight of my professional life. Since it is the most unforgettable experience of my professional life, it will be the highlight of my professional life. My memory will forever be etched with this particular experience that I will never forget. Don't miss out on more incredible stories and jaw-dropping recoveries. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with our latest adventures and expert tips in the world of heavy machinery. Join our community and be the first to see how we conquer the toughest challenges.